out there. If you're a fan of the Flatmates show, then you would have possibly met one honorable. He is the guy. Mr. Dan, thank you again for staying with us.
Thank you. We're here.
All right. Quickly, let me just say this to our listener. You can join in on the conversation. We are streaming live on Facebook and on X. We are also streaming on YouTube. So on any of these platforms, join the conversation. It is Nigeria Info 92.3 PH on Facebook. Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. You can also join on X, Nigeria Info PH. The WhatsApp number is 0809 0306416. You can send in your messages. We're asking you on Facebook, however, lessons we can learn from this sad incident, the death of singer Mohbad. What lessons should young people learn? And I'll be directing that question to my guest as we make progress with this conversation. But first, Mr. Dan, you were trying to tell us the information you had about the candlelight procession and how the questions that you were asking yourself when it ended at the Lekki toll gate. So if you can continue on that line of thought.
Okay, yeah. So I was saying that, I reached out to a number of my colleagues that I saw that they had attended. I saw their post and all of that, So I reached out, and most of them, if not all of them, were like, oh, I've left. I left when we were done. So I don't really have the exact details of, what must have transpired in terms of, what went
What led and made the other people move to the toll gate?
Yeah, and, even in their movement, what could have sparked, the tear gas attack? Because I know that there is freedom of movement, there's freedom to, even if you want to call it a protest, there's freedom of protest. This is not the first time we've had an industry candlelight procession. I've been a part of a number of them, particularly in the comedy and the acting field. I can already remember late Adam's candlelight procession where we had it particularly around the main Lagos Island, where you have a Freedom Park, Amusement Center, and all of that, which is quite, a very interesting part of Lagos, and nothing happened. We went and came back, and everybody went their way safely, So what could have sparked that kind of, will I call it violent reaction from the police is something that I guess in a few minutes or hours, the media space will be awash with the details. But what I can also advise our generation too, and particularly the younger ones, because I know the old small, I turned 38 today, so, and I've seen quite a lot in this short age. The ones younger, particularly the ones, the under 30s, the ones in their 20s, they should be a little more circumspect, in the way they express their emotions, because there's a lot of anger in the land. You can't deny that. There's a lot of anger, in the land, from the government to how things are. And then we now have a case of a very funny case like this, so there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of channel to vent, and then so that we don't give room for people who are frustrated about other things to use, something legitimate to channel, their frustrations.
Okay.
And about the autopsy, honestly, I've never witnessed an autopsy before. When my father passed, we didn't need an autopsy, so I don't know what the speed of an autopsy test, looks like or sounds like or feels like. So we should be very careful how we digest information. If somebody puts it out there that, this autopsy is too fast, let's ask questions first. Really, does autopsy take that much? Does it? Because I want to believe that maybe it's to exhume the body and take certain samples, and return the body or something, So let's be careful how we digest information in the media space so that it doesn't just fuel up unnecessary anger that will lead to, consequences that nobody wants or envisages.
All right. Which brings me to my next question, because in the course of all this issue leading to the death of Mohbad, we saw videos online when the body was exhumed and then there was blood in the grave and people saying, oh, there's blood, it did not die properly, and all that going on, creating a whole different conversation altogether. While all of this is happening, many have been talking about the record label he was signed to, because the reports were that he had already left the label, and before all of this happened, maybe he was going back to get his catalogs and other materials and whatever it was that he had. And then he's been meeting stiff opposition from friends to the labels, his friends, and even members of the label, and maybe the label management as well. It now brings us to contracts. I mean, yourself doing a series, I'm sure you entered into a contract, and how long this would last and certain details must have been put in there. When these contracts are drawn up, whether it's for movies, whether it's for a comedy show, whether it's for music industry now, like in this case, what are the things that should be put in mind? What should young people, young talents be looking at when they get involved and sign contracts with labels and multinationals and organizations?
I believe everybody who is somebody, when I mean somebody who is a human being, have heard countless times where they'll say, oh, if you are given a contract, make sure you go and read it, make sure you read it and go through it. But, I've been around a bit. I've seen practically all facets of society. And sometimes we speak from a perspective of privilege. And by privilege, it's not just privilege of maybe some of us were not born hungry or something, but also from the privilege of information, of knowledge, of perspective. I remember watching an Ashake interview where, he's been he's been on the grind since God knows how long, and had this opportunity with Olamide. Olamide offered him a contract, and he did not read the contract. Olamide said, go and read it. He said, tough. He just took it and came back, but he did not read that contract. Fortunately, it's been well so far. It's like one of our top 5 right now. Imagine if that contract was fuzzy at some point, or something. The world would have been denied of such a phenomenal gift, and all the beautiful stuff that Ashake has got to offer the world. So let me even start by saying, before we will advise young people to read contract, please, the people who are drafting the contract, the record labels and the film companies and all of that, why don't you draw up contracts that will be favorable to these people? Because most of the cats we have in the industry, if you even count from the big 5 to the big 10, Davido, Burna Boy, Wizkid, this, that, it's only maybe about 20 to 25% of them that are from privilege. And that privilege gives you the opportunity for knowledge. It gives you the opportunity to know things. It gives you the opportunity to know people. So you can even have a lawyer friend that say, can you please just look at it? But most of these folks are from the streets, they are hungry. They have their bodies burning with passion.
So in other words, you say some labels take advantage of that and make draconian clauses
from the source. Let us address the problem from the source, that you that drew up this contract and say you're going to collect 70%, you're going to own his life, you're going to do this. If it's your son or your daughter they wrote that contract for, will you be happy? Will you advise your child to accept this contract? So why do you draw up this kind of contract for an artist in the first place, or for an entertainer in the first place, when you know that if it's your brother or your sister or your child they drew up that contract for, you will not be happy? So let's start from the source of the problem, which is the companies or the investors or whatever who are drawing up these contracts. Then we can now circle back or walk back to say, okay, please, young folk, as much as possible, as hungry as you are, try, read the contract. But the truth of the matter is that, most of us, when we are saying this thing, is because it's either we grew up, we went to at least okay schools, so we're able to learn one or two things. Even though we had passion and talent, we were not so hungry as it were, So, because, when you look at the late Mohbad, for example, that guy he was a carpenter, he had his carpentry stuff. Now, when you hear all the music, all this fantastic music that came from this soul, you now wonder that, if this was your carpenter that year, would you have believed that this boy coming to fix your furniture had this much in him? Then he wants to express himself, and somebody is telling him, just come to the studio, you'll be out there. Baba, they don't want to know. So, in as much as we say, please read the contract, try and do. Okay, picture this, if these young chaps, they read the contract, and they say, no, Baba, this thing no do good, no do well for me. And Baba say, no problem, now make you do your day. Who lose? And this thing is. So
in other words, you're saying even if they point out issues that. Hello, Mr. Dan.
Well, let me just land on this. Sorry, let me just land on this real quick. So even as you think that okay, some of us are established, I might get one kind contract from Hollywood, and in the excitement of my God, Hollywood, I'm going to be on the big screen, Hollywood way. I might say no, leave the contract. Or when I look at the contract is one can say, man, I just want to be in Hollywood. At least we have conquered Nigeria. Let's conquer Africa. Let's conquer the world. And then by the time we're there now, at the point, I'm not saying, this 30%, 25% you say you will pay me, is no longer comfortable. And they say, no, you sign a contract. You can do that. You sign a contract. Then we'll start to fight. You get what I'm saying? So sometimes you don't know where hunger will catch you. And when I'm talking about hunger now, I'm not just talking about food, or survival. I'm talking about the hunger where you need the world to hear you because you know that you have a lot inside of you by giftings and talents, So you will trace the problem to the root cause, like every doctor will diagnose. People who are drafting this contract, please look at these people as your brothers and sisters.
But let me quickly add. So you're saying even if this contract, the artists point out certain clauses that they are uncomfortable with, the chances of the organizations or labels editing or perhaps drawing up something new that would be better suitable is very limited, especially when these artists are from the streets and really have nothing to show. Is that what the case is mostly like?
Yeah, because I can tell you, even in my established state, I just signed or just had my first endorsement deal last month.
Congratulations.
With the real estate company. Yeah. And that is not because that's the first endorsement deal that has come my way. I've had at least, between especially from 2018 or 2019 to date, I've always had one conversation or two conversations in at least every 3 to 4 months. But when I look at the clauses and everything, I walk away. In fact, there's some of them are actually
that's because you're not hungry.
Do you understand? Now, exactly. So, but how many of us did there? Do you understand? So there are some people that they need that money. They need that expression. Sometimes I can tell you, I've actually had some pressure some time ago to like, okay, I don't really need this money. However, I need the, what's the word now? I need to sell that image that me too, I'm also a product endorser or a brand ambassador. Do you understand? I need people to also see that I'm a brand ambassador. But again, I walk back to say, when you collect this money, start to do the work. You go come and look you like say, oh, I thought this was there. You will now feel like, you are now being underpaid. You now have like, I'm working like a slave here. This work I'm doing, I'm supposed to collect X. Why am I collecting Y? You get what I'm saying? And then problems start. So you know what? Leave it. Leave out. You get. So it now comes back to, maybe I could have had some of these deals if the contracts in the first place were favorable, and I look at the clauses and say, wow, this is nice, I'm good. You understand?
Well said.
In as much as it's a two-way street, in as much as we will say young people, aspiring talents, budding talents, your time will come, your opportunity will come, what will be. Hold fast, hold strong, read through those contracts. You must have one neighbor that is a lawyer, one court and judge and bail around you that will at least help you read it and say, oh boy, no sign, this thing no good. But really, which one between that and the man who has the money, who has the pen, who has a lawyer that drafted all that grammar, wherewith, forthwith, herein, foretold, which one is easily controlled? Can we control the man or advise the man that drafts and that is making those clauses, or can we control the hungry soul that is burning for expression?
Well said.
Do you understand?
Well said. Let's just take a pause. We'll go and take a few messages and take some calls and get responses from the listener. The WhatsApp number is 0809-030-6416. You can call us now, 0817-923-0007, 0817-923-0003. Either of those numbers, and you have access to us live in the studio. Remember, we're still streaming on Facebook and on X. It is Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. So join in on the conversation and let us get your thoughts on this. My guest still is actor and comedian, Port Harcourt's very own Dan the Humorous. Zion is in GRA. Zion, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. I want to reiterate. I think it's high time the government delve into our entertainment industry. And for music has gone beyond come studio, come sing, you go no. We now have the legislative arm, whereby legislation should be passed to guide certain contracts that are being developed by labels. And also, the government should also come into the place of intervention whenever the clauses are no longer favorable to whomever that signed it to. And also for the legislative angle of it to also observe the terms and the conditions, whereby the government can also supersede and oversee when this contract is being signed in as a third party. For in case of any litigation or a breach of contract, or wherever the contract is no longer favorable to one of the appendixes, for us to stop this. Don't forget, these are only the reported cases. What about the unreported ones that the artists have no choice to be there? Look at what happened to Two-Face Idibia with the prime time jam set of guys initially. Even our own brother Timayasu went through the same condition. What about Plantain Boys when they were together? The blackface, why is it not selling? All these are issues on ground that the more we overlook them, the more we impede.
All right, Zion, I think we have to move on to Muriel. He's in Okrika. Zion, you got interrupted by a service provider. Muriel in Okrika, good morning.
Thank you, Echemi. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Everyone on the line.
Go on.
Firstly, I want to thank your guest, Dan the Humorous, and I want to plead with him to tell his beautiful wife, Millicent, that we miss her ever since he took her away from us. He should please greet her for us, but I will still love her. And Echemi, with what is happening you see, with the kind of economy, with the kind of things that is happening in Nigeria, it has resulted in our youth looking for other means of survival. And this has brought up many talents in our youth. Now, with what is happening, I blame the big boys in the industry and the government. Now, you see, these big boys in the industry, the musicians, the other day Flavor was saying that on his timeline, so many youths are begging him that they can do anything. They can even do anything just to blow, that you should help them. They were begging him that they want to join the Illuminati. Even Kizana came up and was saying how young talents and young boys were begging him that they want to do anything just to blow. Look, I blame the big boys, those that are made in the industry. When you are gotten there, especially if you got there the right way. Can you not advise these people? Bring out things. Talk to them. Just go ahead and just talk to them. Show them the way. You don't just leave them in the loop. You want them to make the same mistakes you made. Some of them can't go through that. Some of them just want to get the easy way. Teach them. Tell them. On your timeline, continue to tell them, look at what I did, look at the procedures I went through to achieve this, so that they will begin to know that it has to be precept upon precept. They have to take it one step at a time. So because they don't know these things, they just fall prey. They are just gullible. Anybody can do anything. Now, again, when Jonathan was there, do you know that Nollywood, Jonathan is the one that made Nollywood the way it is now. If the government can make the music industry as strong as Nollywood, it will really help the young youth. Now, government should look for a way to regulate this music industry. This what do they call them? These people, people like Malian music, all those music, Don Chances. If there are ways, laws to control these people so that they don't take undue advantage of their youth.
All right, Miro, thank you very much. We have to move on now to GRA. Domine is on the line. After Domine, we'll get back to my guests as we attempt to wrap up. Domine, quickly, good morning.
Good morning, my friend. Good morning, Humorous. My name is Domine Mbe.
Go ahead.
To me, when the contracts have been signed, it's binding on both parties. In law, they what we call voluntary not fit injury. Because ignorance is what I see playing out here. But before you sign a contract, you are supposed to read through all the lines of that contract to know what you are signing. Because most persons just sign their own debt. I'm telling you, so to stop it further, I think let there be a regulatory body that will go through such an agreement if there is crisis. And they should also use other options instead of doing it themselves. Because I think what has happened to the young man is like trying to use his own strength. If he has consulted other authorities, at least it would have been better than going to confront people that are being established, that have the connections, that have the loyalty spread all around Nigeria, and you are going to confront. It's of no meaning. But another thing I want to look at this thing now, the issue of Mohbad's death. If at the end of the day, this Naira Marley is exonerated, what happened to him? Or if the actual cause of the death is traced to some other thing. So let us not just come to conclusions so that we don't end up in a chaotic society where people will take laws into their hands.
Thank you very much, Dominic. We're already out of time now. Thank you. We have to wrap up. Mr. Dan, we're already out of time. We say thank you very much. It's amazing having you on. Happy birthday once again. Happy birthday to you. Unfortunately, we don't see our cake, but we are all together. We are together. And before you go, can you give us the honorable vibes?
How are you?
Aha, that's it. Thank you very much. We'll keep in touch. Have a wonderful day yourself. All right, there you have it. We'll go for a short commercial now. When we return, we'll take some messages on Facebook and on WhatsApp. Do stay tuned.
You are tuned in to
Nigeria Info. If I tell you all this plenty airtime and data, who are they take flex now?